everybody?
Pollen's
Good.
starting to kick in, and I'm getting a little sniffly, so I got to stock up on Zyrtec.
Oh, I know. The pollen was on my car yesterday.
It's been on my car every day. In the morning when I leave for work, in the afternoon when I leave for home, it's there.
Yeah. I mean, I know we need it, but I don't like it.
It's early. We need it in February.
Right. All right.
All right.
So we kicked off a new season this past Wednesday.
We did. Yep. What was that called again? Ash Wednesday. That's right. Ashes on their faces.
They were pretty bold this year.
They were very bold. They were very sludgy. That's right. What is Ash Wednesday? For the boys and girls who weren't there, or maybe who were there and didn't know what was happening. What is Ash Wednesday?
Well, we get a nice little smudge.
Yeah.
Get marked with the cross.
Why? What's that? Why do we do that?
So that's where it kind of is like, I think you said it best. There's like good news and bad news with Ash Wednesday. The bad news is we die, and that's inevitable. But the good news is that through Jesus Christ, death isn't the end.
Yeah,
that's right.
And Pastor Eric and I said quite a bit last night and at noon. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. That's pretty grim.
That's scary. That can be scary for not just boys and girls to hear, but for grown-ups to hear that you're going someday to die. But the good news is our faith says that's not the end of us. And that's really, Ash Wednesday reminds us of that. And it's a gateway into a season called Lent, L-E-N-T. What is Lent? What's that about?
Well, it's the 40 days before Easter. And we remember our readings. We remember that Jesus is starting to turn towards Jerusalem, which is where he's going to go and die. And so those readings start paving the way for Jesus to head into Jerusalem. And during the early Christian church, and even we're sort of bringing it back now, people who wanted to be baptized into the church, particularly if they were adult believers, they started this process called the catechumenate. We've started using that word now, and it was a 40-day time where they would learn about the church, and I guess you could say learn about what they were going to be joining into, so that they just had an idea. Is this what you want to get to be a part of? And they had 40 days of learning about the church and what it was all about. And then at Easter Vigil, the Saturday night before Easter Sunday, they would be baptized. So it was a time of preparation. But Lent, I think we hear this a lot in this season. We use the phrase return to the Lord. So it's like going back to the basics, going back to the bare bones of the church.
You know, I think the boys and girls and grown-ups who will be hearing a lot of that phrase, return to the Lord. Whether we say it and speak it or sing it, we're going to hear a lot of that over these next few weeks in the season of Lent. Before we get to a thing called Palm Sunday and then Maundy Thursday, which is Holy Week. Holy Week, and Lent ends with Maundy Thursday. What happens on Maundy Thursday? What is one? I mean, there's a lot that happens on Maundy Thursday, but what's one thing we do at Maundy Thursday? We celebrate what? The
Last Supper.
Last Supper. And that leads us so well into our New Testament story today, the Last Supper. All right. Let's hear what the Spark Bible says about the Last Supper. And this is told, the Last Supper story is told in the Gospels here. Okay. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world. He wanted to share his last Passover meal together with his 12 closest friends, his disciples. Jesus loved his friends and wanted to show them his love in a very caring way. As the friends got ready for the meal, Jesus put water in a large bowl and knelt down on the floor. He wanted to wash the feet of each disciple. When it was Peter's turn, Peter said to Jesus, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus replied, "Peter, you don't understand what I am doing now, but you will later." Peter loved Jesus so much that he says, then don't just wash my feet, but my head and hands also. Peter wanted to be as close to Jesus as possible. As they were eating, Jesus sadly told his disciples, soon one of you will betray me. One of you will tell people who don't like me where I am so that they can take me away. This upset the disciples, and each one said, it's not me you're talking about, is it? When Judas said this, Jesus gently replied, yes, Judas, you will betray me. Then Jesus picked up a loaf of bread. He blessed it and gave some to each of his friends, saying, take this bread and eat it. This is my body. Then Jesus picked up a cup of wine. He gave thanks and said, drink this. It is my blood, which I must give up so the sins of people may be forgiven. When the meal was over, Jesus and his friends went to a place called the Mount of Olives. Jesus said sadly, soon you will all leave me. Peter felt bad. Even if all the others leave you, I won't, he said. Jesus looked at his dear friend and said quietly, before the sun rises, you will pretend you don't know me 3 times. Peter said, Jesus, I love you too much to ever do that to you. And all of the other disciples said the same thing. Wow. Is that a sad story? I don't know how to feel about this story. Is it sad or is it scary or is it?
I'll use the word bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's a bit of both.
Yes.
Bittersweet is a word I like to use.
What's bittersweet mean? It's like.
Well, bitter is a taste that kind of makes you go like, like I don't, like coffee can be too bitter, that kind of thing. It kind of makes you, it's not a fun taste. And sweet, well, boys and girls probably have candy and sweets. They like that sugary taste. It's a good taste. So it has both good and bad, really sad and really good. I mean, Jesus shares a meal with his friends. He gets to be with his friends and he washes their feet. He establishes communion, which is something we have today as a way, and it holds a promise that whenever we have communion, God shows up. So that was a very good thing. And he washed their feet, showed them how to serve one another. That's a very good thing. He shared time with his friends, but that bitter part, that part that's not so good, is the idea that Judas is going to turn on him, and Peter is going to deny him. He's going to pretend he doesn't even know him. So there's good and bad in it.
Yeah, good. That's a good way to describe that, PR. I think you're exactly right. And we know kind of how the story ends, but at the time when you read it, maybe when they certainly were when this was happening, they didn't know how it was going to end. It would be scary, confusing, sad, all of those feelings that they probably had. So let's not say any more, because next week our story is the crucifixion, and that's a big word, and we'll talk about what that word means next week. And how the story ends.
I do have a shameless plug for Maundy Thursday, though.
Oh, yes.
So I will be offering another round of communion enrichment.
Oh, fantastic.
But this is for anybody in the congregation. I gear it
Grown-ups too?
Grown-ups too, yeah. I gear it toward our boys and girls.
I love that.
We don't really do like a first communion class around here because some kids have just been communing the whole time, and that's totally cool. So whether you have kids that have not yet had communion and parents, you want them to have a little class first, that's, this is the class for it. Or if you if you've been taking communion for a little bit, or if you're a grown-up and you've been taking communion for years and you just want a refresher course, that's cool too. This is the class for that. Communion enrichment, and it's a time that we talk about communion and what it is and what we do for communion, and we have a lot of hands-on activities, which is great. One of the cool hands-on activities that we're going to do is we are going to bake communion bread that will be used in our Maundy Thursday service.
That is so neat. I hope people will go. We'll talk about it more to everybody in the congregation. Hopefully they'll do this too. That's a really great idea. Good.
So Maundy
Good.
Thursday is April 6th.
Yes.
And so April 6th in the evening, we'll get together before Maundy Thursday service, and we will have communion enrichment. So I just ask that if you want to be a part of it, please let me know, because I need to know how many people want to be a part of it. So I have enough materials to go around, enough books, enough bread materials and things like that to go around. But yeah.
Very good. I'm glad we're doing that. That fits in well with the Last Supper. That's good. So we'll find out what happens next week when we talk about the crucifixion and really what that word means, because it's a big word, big complicated word. Okay. All right. Y'all have a great week.
All right. Take care.